Jessica, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all the witnesses for being here and giving excellent testimony. And in particular, to the two physicians, thank you for what you've been doing with the news media. I've heard you both, and I think you're really helping Canadians interpret the situation with COVID-19. So, Dr. Bogach, just to start off, certainly you referenced the precautions that are being made on airlines. And so you know that Canadian Airlines did follow IATA recommendations. They were instituted basically in July. You mentioned, and Dr. Chagla mentioned, the filtration system, masking. There's also temperature checks. If you look at data, are you able to? I mean, obviously, none of this is in any way harmful to, as an example, do a temperature check. Are you able to sort of in any way quantify the most valuable type of intervention? It sounds like filtration, air turnover, and so on is the most important. Would you just confirm that?
Sure. So just a couple of notes. I helped with those IATA recommendations. A lot of those were conjured up in March in Singapore, which was my last trip before everything shut down. So I'm aware of those, and I think they're pretty strong because there was broad consultation with the World Health Organization and ICAO as well. The second thing is I don't think there's going to be one step to make things safe. It's really a bundle of measures taken together that will make airline travel safe or safer. As I mentioned, I really think we have to focus on the point of origin to the point of destination and everywhere in between, and that will really ensure proper safety. Of course, there's only certain things that are under the control of the aviation sector, but if we really focus on a more holistic approach, including education, we can make travel safer and instill greater confidence. Directly related to the plane itself, the air filtration system and ventilation system of the plane is spectacular. You couple that with universal masking, which is also extremely helpful, and really crowd control as best as you can, getting on and off the plane while that ventilation system might not be functioning. So those are all very high yield components. Of course, hand hygiene is also important, and all the other public health measures that we've been discussing. But those would be the highest yield, in my opinion. Again, it's a bundle. Last point: temperature checks. It was really interesting. Don't laugh me off this call. Initially, they weren't being done at Canadian airports, and everyone said, "Whoa, we're not doing temperature checks. We need to do them." And then they were doing temperature checks, and everyone's saying, "Whoa, they're useless. We don't need to do them." It's optics. It's optics. You're not going to get it's with this infection. You're not going to. You've got to have the right fever at the right place at the right time, and it's a lot of optics. I don't think that's bad. It might have some people have a little more confidence in traveling, but it's that in and of itself isn't going to make air travel safe.
Thank you. So now turning to rapid testing. Certainly in early days, I think there was a lot of questioning around the reliability. So maybe Dr. Chagla, if you could just inform us what's being used now, what is the sensitivity, specificity, false negative, false positives that you know of at this point in time?
Yeah, so the major rapid test that's available on the Canadian market right now is the PanBio by Abbott. This is a lateral flow assay. It looks very much like a pregnancy test. People get a nasopharyngeal swab, and from what I understand, Health Canada is actually looking at approving nasal swab to make it a little bit more tolerant. It's put into a tube. The tube's dropped onto a pregnancy test, basically, and you wait 15 to 20 minutes for a result. Sensitivity, and again, this is approval as compared to PCR in people that are symptomatic, is about 75%, specificity 95%. That being said, the sensitivity improves in people that have very high levels of circulating virus. And one of the things that got discovered in the McMaster study, as we know, PCR tests tend to stay positive in some individuals for some time. It's not a reflection of their infectivity, it's a reflection of shedding virus. And so, that is a double-edged sword in that sense, where if you PCR everyone that comes back, you may have to wait time, you may get data that may not actually be usable. And Dr. Smea, who's part of that study, really did pick up a lot of people, we call it high cycle thresholds of low viral, very low levels of virus. These rapid tests may pick up the people that are more clinically relevant, the people that are actually infectious and a threat to people, rather than picking up the people at the very early ends of their disease and at the very non-infectious late ends of their disease. And so, we are looking at these tests in long-term care. We're looking in these tests for surveillance for other populations, recognizing that in someone that's symptomatic, I don't want to give them this test necessarily on its own. But if it's someone that's asymptomatic, that's feeling fine, and I get a positive, I'm treating that person as if they're positive because they're probably asymptomatic and infectious and walking around, basically. So, it's a double-edged sword. I think these tests, as Dr. Bogach mentioned, actually do have a role in this type of testing, just for rollout, for lowering laboratory requirements. And again, if you use them serially, they're effective too, as long as they're done properly. Plus, again, the training can be done outside of the laboratory, not in the laboratory.
From previous testimony, we have heard potentially for the role of pre-travel testing. And perhaps, Dr. Bogach, you could comment as how you might see that we refine what we're doing now.
Sure thing.
Answer,
So,
please.
pardon me?
A quick answer, please.
Absolutely. So I think rapid testing, we're just using that as an umbrella term. There's certain products available. There's going to be more that are going to come onto the market soon. We have to remember the goal here is not to detect infection. We're trying to detect people who are at risk of transmitting infection. That's the goal. That's slightly different. Who's going to transmit, not who's infected. So that's a separate question to ask, but that's the important question to ask, and that's what rapid tests are addressing. The next thing is that, I think there would be a role for them. They're not going to be perfect. They're of course not going to be perfect. It's not a foolproof, safe, perfect solution. It will just incrementally add safety to air travel if it was done pre-travel.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bogach. Thank you, Dr. Jacek. So we now heard from the Conservatives, Ms. Cusi, Liberals, Dr. Jacek. I was thinking, Dr. Jacek, when you were speaking there and asking those questions, in your former capacity as the Minister of Health in province of Ontario, how you'd be tackling some of these issues in that capacity.